Happy Aloha Friday, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Parts of the state are experiencing wet conditions. We'll have more on this first alert weather day in just a bit.
But first, on the Big Island, the Attorney General has charged a former basketball coach at Waiakea High School with theft and negotiating a worthless negotiable instrument. Officials say Justin Alika Pekelo Smith made hotel arrangements for his team for a trip, which cost about $3,800. The 48-year-old allegedly collected the money from his players' families and kept the money for himself. He then allegedly paid the company only $500 and intentionally gave a check for the remainder of the balance, knowing it would not be honored. When the check was returned for insufficient funds, officials say Smith never paid the company the balance. He was arrested Thursday afternoon by Hawaii County Police. On Oahu, a 46-year-old man who drove his motorcycle off the road and down an embankment in the Punch Bowl area has died. It happened at around 8 last night near the intersection of Puovaina Drive and Ho'okui Street. This is near the National Memorial Cemetery of the Pacific. EMS rushed him to the hospital in critical condition, but he later died of his injuries. An investigation is underway to determine what led up to the crash. We do know that he was not wearing a helmet. This is the 28th traffic fatality on Oahu this year, compared to 38 this last year. 20-year-old Jonah Moya is charged with negligent homicide for a deadly crash that killed 2 bicyclists in Eva. Police say he lost control of his car on Iroquois Road last March and struck 62-year-old Naomi Meyer and 75-year-old James Rowland in a marked crosswalk. Moya faces up to 10 years in prison. With only 67 days left until the election, the presidential nominees are hoping to gain support from women on some of the country's hot-button issues. Natalie Brand reports from the White House.
Former President Donald Trump is in western Pennsylvania working to boost his base in the battleground state. Part of his mission is to shore up support from women on issues including IVF and abortion. He's also facing backlash from some conservative groups about his comments Thursday suggesting Florida's 6-week abortion ban is too restrictive.
They attack him on that he did away with abortion. No, he did not do away with abortion. He sent it back to the states where it should be.
Friday evening, Trump speaks to the conservative group Moms for Liberty, where parental rights are a top concern.
The fact that parents have the fundamental right for complete upbringing of their children, and that big tech, big government overreach is trying to take that away from parents every day.
Vice President Kamala Harris is looking to lock in her sizable lead among female voters. And next week, her campaign launches a reproductive freedom bus tour, making more than 50 stops till Election Day. In her first major interview as a presidential candidate, Harris was asked about some of her policy shifts, including on fracking.
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020, that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
Harris campaigns in Pittsburgh on Labor Day with President Biden, where energy issues are top of mind. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
The Israeli army said today that humanitarian aid due to be sent to Gaza arrived in Israel on board a U.S. cargo ship. The Army said more than 3,500 pallets of aid from the World Central Kitchen, USAID, and the American Near East Refugee Aid Organization were transported aboard the U.S. Cape Trinity via a sea corridor from Cyprus. The Israeli Army released video of the aid arriving to the port of Ashdod in Israel. It also said the items needed to pass a security inspection before being allowed to enter the Gaza Strip.
A developer that wants to build new residential units in Oahu's Turtle Bay faced a packed house in Kahuku last night. They said that they have the best plan for building in an area that has been largely set aside for conservation. Ben Gutierrez has this story.
The Utah-based developer recently acquired 65 acres from the Turtle Bay Resort. It says it has already begun work on the first phase of its project, 4 low-rise buildings with 20 new residential units. Arate Collective purchased the land in April. The project would be the first construction there since a 2015 conservation agreement to preserve 625 acres of open space and limiting development in the Kawaii Bay area.
We ended up with a conservation easement that reduced the development from 3,500 units down to 725. And so that was with a lot of community input and a lot of work by a lot of people. And this is part of the process as it continues.
Arate says its development plan is in line with the conservation guidelines, including buildings below the 90-foot height limit that are set back more than 300 feet from the shoreline, farther than what's required.
With our large amount of 70% of open space and with the reduction of buildings and the retreat from the shoreline, we're hoping that we can convince the community that this is the best plan for that site if development does have to occur.
The developer says it has already met with community leaders, cultural experts, and conservation groups before holding the community open house. Not a question and answer session for the hundreds who attended.
We know this isn't the forum that you typically like to hear from developers. We wanted to do this format of an open house so we could hear from everybody.
Some were concerned that work has already begun before the developer reached out to the wider North Shore community.
People who are worried about keeping the country and preserving Hawaii and keeping Hawaii. We also need to understand that so many times land entitlement happened without people even knowing.
Arate says it's begun grading work and is awaiting permits to begin vertical construction of the buildings, which it says will create 1,000 new jobs.
We do know that there's going to be pushback. We know that there's a lot of people that don't want any development at all. We're trying to be sensitive to that. We believe that we've come up with a plan that is the least invasive to the area.
Bushan says the first buildings should be completed and ready for sale in early 2026. In Kahuku, Ben Gutierrez, Hawaii News Now.
An upcoming event at the Kawaii Humane Society is aiming to bring the community together while also shedding light on the urgent need to boost adoptions. Next weekend, folks on Kauai are invited to the Barks and Buys Market, featuring both rummage sale type goods along with nearly 30 vendors. It's the second time the Humane Society is putting this on, and while it's a great chance to do some shopping, the Humane Society leaders are hopeful it will encourage people to think about fostering or adopting animals in need of a home, as the shelter has been over capacity for a while.
I know people are probably tired of us constantly saying we're full, but that's just the reality of it. Is there's nowhere for them to go, so they're just sitting here. And we only have so many kennels, we only have so many cages, and we're getting animals with all kind of needs. It's not uncommon for us to have 100 adoptions a month, or pretty close to it. We didn't hit that. Like for the whole first start of the year, we weren't able to accomplish that 100 mark. And it was a really telling point that this was going to be a challenging year for us.
We'll post more information on the market on our website. Now to some First Alert weather coverage for you, as the remnants of Gilma are impacting some parts of the state, while others are seeing sunny conditions today. But over on Hawaii Island, a family there is closely watching the forecast as they clean up their storm-damaged home from Humane. Now, this happened in the South Point area, and volunteers work to help clean up the muddy mess. Anthony Ferreira has their story.
I'm finding all the pictures from my boys growing up and through graduation. They were underwater. They're stuck together.
Sharon Mistandria is salvaging family memories nearly lost when a torrent of water came rushing into her Waiahinu home early Sunday morning.
My son comes running up and he says, "Mom, there's water all over the place." And he had awakened because he heard boulders rolling down and crashing into the lower part of his house.
The water began to rise quickly. Sharon's son, Jacob Satterwhite, used a crowbar to open a door. Mud and water shot out of the home like a dam had broken.
It was just gushing and kind of a mini Rainbow Falls.
The family is safe, but their duplex, known as the Hobbit House, is a wreck. Just about everything downstairs is wet or covered in mud.
Oh, we had a freezer that tipped over. All the meat went out. Some meat is down the mountain. Other is rotting in the house. So I don't know. It's like an archaeological dig in there.
Volunteers have showed up, armed with shovels to help remove layers of dirt and rocks.
I think the mom of Jacob feels really stressed about it, and I really want for her to feel better, like she's not alone and nothing to worry, everything gonna be okay in some time. We removed so much already today. I was like, I think we did the biggest part.
The family's worried about any more wet weather. Their property is still scarred with riverbeds aimed directly at their house.
Yesterday or last night it started raining and I thought, oh no, it won't affect me after we're, back to where we were. But it's kind of hard.
Mastandria gave up her hurricane insurance about a year ago because of mounting health and hospital bills. The county's been to the property to assess the damage. There's hope that FEMA may be able to help. For now, the family's grateful for everyone's support.
There are people that, out of the goodness of their heart, are here shoveling mud and rock and offering different things. And we really appreciate it. Really want to thank them. All of the whole community of Na'ale, who has been great.
You'll find a link to the family's GoFundMe on our website. Anthony Ferreira, Hawaii News Now.
All right, let's take a live look outside with the Waikiki Aquarium Cam. This is in Waikiki. You can see it's kind of cloudy, a little overcast on this Aloha Friday, 85 degrees out there. Now, we're going to have more on this first alert weather day with Guy Hagi coming up after this quick break.
How's it on this Aloha Friday? The remnants of Gilma, which used to be a major hurricane, now on the move into the state. You can see there's a scattered shower, some of them heavy, affecting the north side of Hawaii Island as well as the windward side of Maui. But this system is on the move, so we're going to see more clouds and more showers through the day, mostly for the central part of the state, going into tonight for Kauai and maybe even through tomorrow morning as well. Now, as the system moves along the state, we are going to get lighter winds taking place. Right now we got some breezy northerly winds, but as that system moves across, it's going to block those trade winds, and that means light and variable winds today and tomorrow, stronger trade winds coming back on Sunday. So it's going to be cloudy. It's going to be a little bit wet today. Today's a first alert weather day. Keep that in mind, because we will see some weather conditions that will disrupt your routine. We aren't expecting, too much rainfall. Still, though, there's a possibility for flooding, especially for the windward sides of Hawaii Island. We've got a little pulse expected into north and west shores today. Not a big one, but a little pulse. But keep in mind, if the rain is incessant and amounts to a whole lot, we could see some brown water advisories. Now, here's what's going on. This is the weather forecast model for Gilma, right? It's going to start moving across state through the day, through tonight, and then slowly by tomorrow morning, clearing skies for the east and the state. And that means that by tomorrow afternoon, we'll see a fair bit of sunshine, although by tomorrow evening, we're going to see the remnants of Hector come through. But the remnants of Hector will not bring us much rain, less than what we expect from Gilma. And we're not expecting a lot from Gilma, although today is a first alert weather day, mainly for the windward sides of Maui and Hawaii Island, because they're saturated. They could get, some flooding conditions. The rest of us will see scattered showers, maybe a few downpours here and there. Drier by Saturday with Hector's remnants, even drier by Sunday, and then those trade winds will pick up speed through the rest of next week.
The Labor Day weekend could see a record number of people on the move. Lower fuel prices and airfares are inspiring Americans to take a trip. Roxana Seabury has more.
Millions are planning to squeeze out the last bits of summer by taking to the skies.
I was surprised when I showed up here at the terminal and there's so many people in line of security.
The TSA, which has had a record summer, expects the trend to continue. The agency is preparing to screen around 2.86 million people today alone. Airlines also expect to fly a record number of passengers. For United, that's 3% more than last year. For American, nearly 14%.
How crowded was your plane?
It was packed.
Yeah.
John and Adriana Ziza flew from Chicago to Newark Thursday. They're celebrating their 10th anniversary by attending the U.S. Open in New York.
And this is our first chance to come back. We've got 3 kids at home, and my parents are staying there, thankfully taking care of them so we can have our first break in like 7 years.
AAA says Seattle is the top domestic destination this holiday, driven in part by sold-out Alaskan cruises departing from there. But for those flying into and out of Seattle-Tacoma Airport, travel could be tricky.
Here on the international side is where we're seeing the biggest impact right now.
Airport authorities say some international carriers and smaller airlines are manually checking in passengers, while employees are handwriting gate information, nearly a week after a suspected cyber attack disrupted computer systems, though security checkpoints are operating normally.
There's nothing they can do about it, nothing I can do about it, so I hold no grudges.
The top 3 busiest U.S. airports over Labor Day weekend will be Atlanta, Chicago O'Hare, and Dallas Fort Worth. Roxana Seabury, CBS News, Newark, New Jersey.
Turning now to sports and Friday Night Lights, Kyle Chinen has a preview of some of the biggest games in high school football today.
Oh yeah, you hear that music. It's time for Football Fridays, week 4 of the Hawaii High School football season. Lots of intriguing matchups to look at, so let's get right into the previews. Taking a trip to the top of the hill, Kamehameha hosts Waipahu. Now both teams go into the matchup 2-1 on the young season. Waipahu is coming off of a thrilling 20-13 last-minute win over Waianae. Meanwhile, Kamehameha is coming off of a dominating win over California's Warren up on the continent. Kamehameha needs to get the offense going to keep up with the scrappy Waipahu team. It's going to be interesting to see how this one shapes up at Kapa'alama. Kickoff is set for 7 p.m. And a little bit further down Kalihi Valley at Skipadia Stadium, Farrington hosting St. Louis. Now undefeated Farrington faces their first Oahu Open Division team in the Crusaders. Now this is a revitalized team and a revitalized attitude, throwing it back to the Governor's teams of the past. St. Louis is 1-2 on the season with tough losses to Kahuku and Mililani to start the year. Crusaders need to get the offense going early to keep up with the now multifaceted Govs attack that can run it and throw the ball. Kickoff set for 7:30 p.m. And taking a trip to the 9th Island, Mililani takes on Liberty of Nevada. Now, this is the third time the Trojans will face the Patriots. Mililani is coming off of a thrilling win over St. Louis at home. The Trojans without star quarterback Kenny McMillan for the remainder of the season and now look towards Keikoa Kung. He's now the guy under center for the Trojans, so they will work and build around him. That game set for 7:30 p.m. on Saturday. And that was just a taste of what's to come this weekend in Hawaii high school football. Be sure to stick with Hawaii News Now, as I'll have all the highlights coming up later tonight for the Friday night games and over the weekend. That's the latest. I'm Kyle Chinen, Hawaii News Now.
Looking now to the UH Rainbow Warriors, our Casey Lund has a preview of game day this weekend.
Aloha and good afternoon. We are just shy 24 hours before kickoff. And by the way, we're going to talk about everything you should do ahead of kickoff, including the fan experience over at Les Murakami Stadium. But we wanted to come up here. Earlier on Sunrise, we were down on the field, a little bit of rain, but hey, we're out of the rain up here in these boxes. I want to talk with Eric Matthews, the marketing director for UH Athletics here at the University of Hawaii, Manoa. These are cool space. This is kind of something that you guys brought online right when we knew we had to come over to TC Ching and make things better for the fans, right?
I mean, Casey, you said yourself, you haven't been up here before. This is not a better view. This is pretty solid. I mean, we're right here at the 50-yard line. Everything that you see here, it's a great view. A lot of our sponsors are up here. There's a few fans that buy boxes up here. You got your TVs. You couldn't ask for anything on a game day experience here in Hawaii.
Now, this is going to be a game day for to end all game days. We've got the CBS truck. Tell me a little bit about what this means for the university, for the athletics department to have this national stage.
I mean, the exposure is great. That's going to be something that we're all looking forward to, and we know how special Hawaii is. And now the rest of the nation on CBS is going to know how special Hawaii is when it comes to football and on game day. Everything from our entrance to our fans to our traditions, everything that we're doing, they're going to see it live right here on CBS.
Speaking of traditions, I know when Aloha Stadium became no longer an option, we moved over here. People grumbling about possibly no tailgating, but man, what you've created over here for the people I've talked to at Les Murakami, kickoff at the Les, has been a huge hit. Tell me about that, and even last week was proof of that.
I mean, last week is Delaware State, first game of the year. We did this all last year, and fans kind of slowly got involved with it, which was great to see, but they've really gotten used to it. So last week, we're kind of curious, how's this going to go? Fans were here in boats. They were ready to go. And that place was bumping. This week, Hiawatha performing. It's going to be even better, I got a feeling.
Well, I don't know if you need anything more to sell you on coming to the game, but you have something to say to the folks who might be on the fence coming Saturday or watching it on TV.
Let's go ahead and get that taken care of. It's just talking right now. Let's look at this. It is University of Hawaii on prime time on CBS. You are not going to have a bigger stage than what we're going to have, and we need to do what we do best, and that's have a good time. Let everybody know from coast to coast, from the eastern part of Maine to the western part of the islands, that this is the play to be, and we're going to have ourselves a good time on Saturday. It's not about Braden Shager. It's not about Pafoli Ashlock. It's not about Peter Manuma. It's about you being here, having a good time, high-five a stranger, hug a friend, turn water into wine. Yes, sir. Let's have a good time on Saturday.
All right, brother. Okay, if you want to come, by the way, 1:30 p.m. Tickets are going fast. You only have, at this time, when we tape this, less than 400. So you can, of course, watch the game on CBS KGMB at 1:30. It's going to be a show. Eric Matthews, thank you. Go Bows.
In today's Good News Now, the Wildlife Photographer of the Year finalists have been announced. Here's Jeremy Roth and take a look at this.
Feast your eyes on the absolute cream of the crop of wondrous wildlife images captured from all corners of the world. It's just a taste of a collection of highly commended images making up the final round of the 2024 Wildlife Photographer of the Year competition. Put on by the Natural History Museum, London, the fantastical finalist images were whittled down from nearly 60,000 submitted entries, a new record for the competition, from photographers of all ages and experience levels from 117 countries. Highlights include a breathtakingly serene forest moment that looks like something out of a fairy tale, a terrifying stare down from a vicious predator protecting its precious catch, a bird's eye view of a glacier so massive the final image had to be stitched together from 26 separate frames, and this solemn sight of a deceased deer covered in frost on a forest floor, the first ever photo taken with a smartphone to be given a highly commended honor in the contest. All entries were judged by a panel on their creativity, originality, and technical excellence, and are vying for the top honors in multiple categories. Winners will be announced on October 8th, and 100 photographs from the competition will then headline an exhibition at London's Natural History Museum. Well, they weren't entered in any contests, at least not yet, but a collection of stunning views captured in the stormy skies over Minnesota show a rarely seen combination of a full arching rainbow and crackling lightning bolts. Severe weather pushed rain and wind through the Minneapolis area, bringing with it eerie colors in the clouds, but it was the rare pair of spectacles up there that had cameras in hands and eyes on the skies. For Take a Look at This, I'm Jeremy Roth.
Nature is pretty cool, isn't
That
it?
is crazy. That rainbow with lightning.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I got to say, the picture of the deer in the snow, when I actually first saw that story, I did a double take because I wasn't sure what I was looking at. And to hear that that was a photo on a smartphone, absolutely incredible. Let's send you live outside one more time on this lovely Aloha Friday through the eyes of the Waikiki Aquarium camera. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We hope you have a wonderful weekend.
Happy Aloha Friday.